So before I start this lecture, I would ask you learners to please like, share and subscribe to Med Learning and also hit the bell icon so that you will be notified about our future videos. With that said, let's begin our lecture. Hello guys, Shamir here with another Med Learning video, and this is going to be part 2 of our previous pharmacology lecture. And this is going to be the introduction of pharmacokinetics. I'm going to talk all about pharmacokinetics in this lecture, and it's going to be a little bit lengthy as compared to the previous lectures because just the scope of this lecture and just the content that I have to cover in this lecture is a little bit more as compared to the previous lectures. So bear with me. So before I start this lecture, I want to talk about the learning objectives of our lecture today. And these are going to be number one, I'm going to define pharmacokinetics and we are going to understand its importance. I'm going to identify the routes of administration of drugs and we are also going to discuss some important ones. Also, I'm going to discuss different factors that affect drug absorption. We are going to talk about first pass effect and its importance for drug metabolism, and we are going to discuss the importance of drug distribution and the concept of bioavailability. And further, we are going to talk about the important factors related to drug distribution, and we are going to also talk about drug metabolism and discuss its phases. Finally, we are going to talk about drug elimination and its importance. So like I said, this is going to be a little more comprehensive as compared to the previous videos, but all these concepts, all these topics are really important for one to understand, and especially for students of pharmacology and students of nursing to understand these concepts so that they will apply these concepts to their general practice or have good marks in their particular exams or their nursing exams or even their pharmacology exams. So if I just move to my first topic, I'm going to talk about the definition of pharmacology. What is basically pharmacology? And pharmacology essentially refers to or means the absorption, distribution, metabolism and elimination of a drug from the body. So when we talk about pharmacokinetics, we are essentially talking about these four things or these four factors. And I'm going to talk about these factors in a bit of detail in a minute. But when we talk about pharmacology, we are referring to the absorption, distribution, metabolism, and elimination of a drug. Or in other words, we can also say that what the body does to a particular drug is called pharmacokinetics. So when we take a particular drug, there is some absorption, distribution, metabolism and elimination happening to that drug in the body. This is referred to as what the body does to the drug. So if I move to my next slide, I want to talk a little bit more about the pharmacokinetic phases or the pharmacokinetic properties of the pharmacokinetics basically. So the pharmacokinetic properties or phases consist of these four steps as I have previously talked about as well. And if you look at the right side of the slide, you can see the four processes in much greater detail. And if you look at these four processes, first we have absorption, and there is a model of a human being and you can see that first we have absorption. It basically means how the drug will get inside the body. And number second, we have distribution. How will the drug be distributed within the body? Third, we have metabolism. How will it be broken down? And finally, we have excretion or elimination. How will this drug leave the body? And this is what I have talked about in this smart chart as well. First, we have absorption, then we have distribution, then we have metabolism, and then we have elimination. So you need to understand these four phases before we move on to the next topic, that these are essentially the main four phases of pharmacokinetics that happen within the body, or what happens to the drug when it enters the body. So if I move to the next slide, I'm going to talk about the routes of administration. Essentially, what are the main routes of administration of drug? And there are mainly two routes. First, we have enteral route and then we have parenteral route. And these are essentially the two main routes. I'm going to talk about these routes in a much greater detail in the next few slides. So if I move to the next slide, I'm going to talk about the factors that lead to the choice of a route. This basically means that when we decide to give a particular drug to a particular patient, then what are the factors that decide the choice of route. So for example, the first factor might be that the type of desired effect. So what type of desired effect that we want for a particular drug? Either we want a systemic effect or a local effect. If we want a systemic effect, then we might give a drug intravenously. And if we want a local effect, we might give that drug topically, or give it in some other method or some other route. So if I talk about the second point, which is physiochemical properties, then it is basically whether a drug is solid or whether a blood is whether a drug is liquid or is it insoluble. So these are basically the physiochemical properties of the drug which decide which route to choose. Also, the rapidity of effect and the dosage form available are also very important when it comes to deciding the route, and the patient's age and condition. So some patients we cannot give drugs to them orally if they have some problem in swallowing. Then we might give those patients drugs only in IV form or in some other form. And it also depends on the patient's condition. If a patient is very critically ill, we might not give oral or not even use IM route or subcutaneous route. We might only use IV route to give that patient a particular drug. So if I move to the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about the enteral routes and what is essentially the enteral route. Enteral route basically means the drug which is placed directly in the GI tract. So this is the drug that is placed directly in the GI tract, and it is considered as the most common, economical and safest route. Also, it is the most unreliable and slow. So this is kind of a disadvantage of this route. Examples of this route are sublingual, buccal, oral, and rectal. I'm going to talk about all these routes in a bit of detail in the next few slides. So if I move to the next slide, I'm going to talk about the first enteral route, which is the oral route. And this is like the most common route used to give drugs to patients generally, and it is considered very economical, very safe. It can be self-administered as well. Anyone can take medicines via oral route by themselves, and also it is painless and acceptable to most patients. Like majority of the patients, they prefer to take medications via the oral route. So if a patient cannot take medication by himself, we can give him or her a particular drug or a particular treatment via the NG tube or the nasogastric tube as well, which is essentially the plastic tube inserted into the GI tract. And it can be overcome by the antidotes or emesis as well. If you have a particular reaction to a drug given by the oral route, we can give an antidote or induce emesis to deactivate or to negate that particular side effect. So if I talk about the disadvantages, I will point a few disadvantages stated in this slide, and they are stomach acid inactivation. So it is inactivated via the stomach acid. First pass effect, I will talk about first pass effect in my future slides and explain this phenomenon or a process to you. So you will understand about this. Don't worry about this concept. And the third point is drug interaction and food interaction. So drug and food interactions are kind of disadvantages because that basically affects the efficacy of the drug or the therapeutic effect of the drug when it comes to the oral route. Also, the absorption is slow and irregular when it comes to the oral route because it has to go to the stomach and there it is absorbed, and there is just a lot of digestion that is involved, and the medication is absorbed really slowly. Also, if a patient has or a person has a esophageal ulceration, that can cause a lot of pain, or even that can cause ineffective medication as well. Also, if a patient is unconscious, that he can choke on that particular medication, and very high doses sometimes required to give in case of oral doses to have a particular therapeutic effect. So if I move to the next slide, I'm going to talk about the sublingual route or the buccal route. Actually, sublingual and buccal are kind of different, but they are essentially used in the same way, and they are very much related to each other. So if we talk about these routes, basically in these routes, the medication is held in the mouth or cheeks or under the tongue. So buccal has slower absorption as compared to the sublingual route, and drugs are very stable when it comes to both these routes, and also clinically useful drugs in sublingual route. So there are some drugs which are very useful, clinically useful, that are used in sublingual route like nitroglycerin, GTN, etc. Isosorbate dinitrate is also used in sublingual route for clinically useful effect. And if we talk about the advantages of these routes, they are rapid absorption, avoid first pass effect, and low incidence of infection. So as I talked before, that the sublingual route and the buccal route have rapid absorption of these medications, and it is also used to avoid first pass effect. So when we give medications via sublingual route, we avoid the first pass effect, and this is essentially because of the proximity of capillaries in that region, which cause it to avoid the first pass effect. So also there is low incidence of infection, as I told you guys before. What are the disadvantages? The main disadvantages are inconvenience, small dosages, unpleasant taste of some drugs, and erratic absorption. So sometimes there is erratic absorption of these drugs, and it can have disadvantages to that as well, or sometimes maybe even some reactions to particular drugs. If I move to the next slide, I'm going to talk about the rectal route, and this is the fourth type of enteral route. And what happens in this route is that it is used in patients who have recurrent vomiting or are unconscious. So that patients who are unconscious or have recurrent vomiting, this type of route will be used in those type of patients. Also, drugs like glycerin and diclofenac are very often given via these routes, and enema and suppository as well. So advantages of this route is that it bypasses the liver or the first pass effect by 50%, and it is usually used for children, and it is very advantageous during emesis or when patient is vomiting, which I have talked about earlier. What are the disadvantages? It is inconvenient and embarrassing. Obviously, rectal inflammation can occur as a result of this route. Absorption is sometimes incomplete and erratic. If I talk about the parenteral route, we have a few routes to talk about when it comes to the parenteral route. They are as follows. And first, I will talk about the uses of this route. So, it is used for poorly absorbed drugs. It is also used for unstable drugs, also used in unconscious patients and in irreversible route, and also causes pain, fear, and infection, and must be sterile and little irritant. So as I told you guys before, that it is mostly used for poorly absorbed drugs. So those drugs which are usually not absorbed via the previous routes, via the enteral routes which we talked about, parenteral route can be used for these type of drugs. Also for unstable drugs and unconscious patients, mostly in unconscious patients we will use the parenteral route, and also for unstable drugs. And again, irreversible, it is irreversible. We cannot give any antidote or any reversible drug for any particular reaction related to these type of drugs. If I talk about some examples, they are intravenous, intramuscular, intradermal, and subcutaneous. I'm going to talk about these in the next few slides. So if I move to next slide. So when we talk about the intravenous route is the route in which the drug is placed directly into the bloodstream. And if I talk about a few advantages, its advantages are that we have a precision of dose, and we have a precise dose which we can give to the patient quickly, and it has prompt or immediate effects as a result of that dose. Also, the absorption phase is bypassed, which basically means that the drug is directly placed into the bloodstream, and therefore there is no need for absorption of the drug as it is directly available in the bloodstream. Also, there is 100% bioavailability of drug. I'm going to talk about the bioavailability concept in a bit, so don't worry about that. So if I move to the next point, I'm going to talk about the precise, accurate, and almost immediate. Of course, when it comes to intravenous route, we have precise, accurate, and almost immediate onset of action due to its bioavailability, and well controlled throughout the body. So it is almost well controlled throughout the body, and since we can give precise dose, so we can control the effects as well. So for irritating, it can be used for irritating solutions, and for example like potassium chloride and other solutions which are irritating, they are mostly given via this route. And single dose and the continuous, we can give single doses, and also we can give continuous infusions. What are the disadvantages? Some of the disadvantages are greater risk of adverse effects, high concentration attained rapidly, embolism, which is basically a bubble that is present inside the blood veins, and it can cause different problems within the body like pulmonary embolism and also heart attacks and heart problems. It can be a big disorder within the body. IV more difficult. So IV is usually more difficult in obese patients and obese people. So we have to be really vigilant and be really careful when giving IV to obese patients. And also oily solutions or insoluble substances that are not suitable. So they can not be given via IV and they cannot be withdrawn. So this is like a disadvantage of IV. If I move to the next slide, I'm going to talk about the IM or the intramuscular route. And what is the intramuscular route? In this route, basically what is happening is that so the injection of liquid is passed into the area of the greatest mass of a large muscle. So in this liquid or an injection, which we call injection basically, is injected into the muscle mass or a large muscle. And there are a few muscle in the body I'm going to talk about, particular sites that we give IM injection or we use IM route for. So it has also rapid absorption than SC. So I'm going to talk about SC after this, but it has more rapid absorption as compared to the SC or subcutaneous route. And there are majorly 5 IM sites, and these are the sites which are used mostly or like they are used very much for IM route. And they are the deltoid, the vastus lateralis muscle, the rectus femoris muscle, the ventrogluteal and the dorsogluteal. So deltoid is basically our bicep muscle present on our upper arms, and the vastus lateralis is our thigh muscle. And the rectus femoris is the muscle that is present on the lateral side of the buttock. And ventro and dorsogluteal are buttock muscles basically that are present on the posterior side of the body on your buttocks. So if I talk about the advantages of this route, they are number one, an aqueous solution or a depot preparation. So either we have an aqueous solution or we prepare a particular solution or we prepare a particular specialized depot preparation. And this is essentially a preparation like a injection that we prepare ourselves instead of already prepared injections that come in vials. So another advantage is that no, this is like a disadvantage, but this is contraindicated in coagulant therapy. So if a patient is undergoing anticoagulant therapy, then it is contraindicated in that particular patient. And also it has rapid effect in aqueous solution. So since this is the aqueous solution and it is inserted in a particular, especially it is inserted in the muscle, so it has a rapid effect due to that. Also, slow sustained effect for when it comes to depot preparations, they have slow sustained effect, and in this way they can be used for sustained effect, and these type of depot preparations can have sustained effect for a long period of time. Also, moderate volume or oily vehicles or so irritant solutions or oily solutions which we might not give via the IV route, we can give via the IM route. And the absorption rate of blood flow to the absorption rate is quite high, not as high as compared to the IV route, but it is high because there is quite a large amount of blood flow to these muscles of the body. So if you talk about the disadvantages, there can be pain and abscess due to these injections if they are not properly given to the patient. So if I move to the next slide, I want to talk about the subcutaneous route. And this is the route in which basically the injection is inserted into the fatty layer of tissue just below the dermis of skin. So we have skin. Skin basically has different layers, and the last layer of skin is dermis. And after that, we have the subcutaneous layer, which is basically above the muscle layer, and it means that it is sandwiched between the skin and the muscle layer. So this is the subcutaneous layer essentially. What are the advantages of this route? Major advantages are that the absorption is slow and sustained. So we can give such type of drugs which we need sustained effect for via this route. Also, rapid effect aqueous solution. So sometimes for aqueous solution, because aqueous solutions are essentially like liquid solutions, so they can have more faster effect or more immediate effect as compared to the insoluble or like oily solutions. So this is like rapid effect for aqueous solution, and also they are available in insoluble suspension and solid pellet in plantations. Okay, so over weeks or months, some medications can have effect for over weeks or months, like testosterone and insulin. And also there are other medications given via this route like adrenaline and heparin, and also some vaccines. In fact, majority of the vaccines are given via the subcutaneous route. If we talk about the disadvantages, it is not suitable for large. So we can give only small volumes of drug via this route, and also not for irritant drugs, and it can cause pain, necrosis and tissue slogging. So I'm going to move to the next slide. I'm going to talk about the intradermal route. And the intradermal route is basically the route in which the drug is injected into the layers of skin. So intradermal is basically drug that is injected into the dermis layer of the skin or the different layers of the skin. So what are the advantages? Advantages that the BCG vaccine, which is a tuberculosis vaccine, and the smallpox vaccine is given via this route. Also, it is used for testing the drug sensitivity like penicillin. So some people might be allergic to penicillin. So to check the drug sensitivity, we might give this drug. And also the Mantox test, which is used for TB, is given via this route. And the disadvantages of this route might be that there are multiple punches of epidermis. So you might need to give multiple punches to administer this type of drug via this route effectively. What is the intrathecal route? So intrathecal route is the route in which the needle is inserted between two vertebrae in the lower spine and into the space around the spinal cord. Okay, and if you look at this diagram on the right side, you can see that this needle is being inserted between the two vertebrae into the spinal cord. And what are the advantages of this route? It has rapid effects. Since it is being inserted essentially into the spinal cord, it has rapid effects, and also because it bypasses the blood-brain barrier, also the CSF barrier. So it can have rapid effects in terms of effects to the particular site of action or particular effect, therapeutic effect that it wants. And disadvantages. Disadvantages are infection at the site. So there is a high possibility of infection when it comes to this type of route. And also we require skilled personnel or skilled professional to do this type of procedure. So this route is used very rarely and not very often because there are quite a lot of risks involved. If I move to the next slide, I'm going to talk about the topical route, which is essentially the route in which we apply the medication to the skin. So what are the advantages? Advantages are that it is more convenient. In fact, it's very convenient. In fact, the most convenient type of route to use. Also, it is localized. It has localized effects, like if we have particular skin lesions, if we have particular skin disorder, if we have, for example, people have acne, people have skin lesions and stuff, people have other type of skin problems, they can use this type of route for localized effect for that particular disorder or that particular problem that they are having. So it has rapid absorption. If we use this for skin, then it can have very quick effects as compared to the other routes. Disadvantages. So sometimes irritation can occur, sometimes allergies can occur due to this type of route, depending upon the drug that you are using. So if I move to the next slide, I want to talk about the transdermal route, and this is essentially the route in which the patch or a particular physical delivery device is applied to the skin that has a porous membrane. So if you look at this picture, we can see on the left side of the slide is that this is a patch which is being applied to the skin, and this patch has medication to have a therapeutic effect in the body, and it is being applied to the body. If we talk about the advantages, we can say that it is more convenient. In fact, it is very convenient, and also sustained therapeutic blood levels via. So because of this route, we can have sustained effects because we can apply this patch for several days, and it can have sustained effects for several days when it has been applied to the skin. Also improved compliance. So we can have improved effects and improved compliance as a result of this route, as using this route. Also, the patch will deliver the drug at a constant rate, and sometimes single patches act for like even up to a week or 7 days. And we use and this is mostly used for medications like GTN, nicotine, fentanyl, hyoscine, and clonidine. So these type of drugs are mostly used to deliver the drugs via this route. What are the disadvantages? Disadvantages can be local irritation and erythema, and also it can be a little bit expensive. So these are the disadvantages of this route. If I move to the next type of route, it is the intranasal route. And in this route, the drug is administered directly into the nose. And it can have either systematic or local effects, and mostly nasal decongestants are used in this type of route. Also, an example of a nasal decongestant is it is not a nasal decongestant, but desmopressin is a common drug used to give via this route. What are the advantages? The major advantages are fast effect and prevents drug degradation. So the drug does not degrade and it has immediate effects, and it is not basically metabolized within the body as much as compared to other routes. What are the disadvantages? Limit volume. So you cannot give as much volume via this route, because there is just limited amount of volume that you can give via this route. Also, the drugs for continuous and frequent administrations are less suitable, and the nasal mucosa, it can cause nasal mucosa irritation as well. So if I move to the next route, it is the inhalation route. And what is inhalation route? As you can see in this picture as well, it is the inhalation of a drug in gas or liquid form, and the drug is absorbed through the alveoli of the lungs. So it is basically when you inhale a drug into your lungs and the alveoli of the lungs absorb the drug. So what is the form of these basically liquid particles? They are basically small particles atomized into smaller particles. So smaller particles, these are like small droplets that go deeper into the drug absorption phase, and these are atomized small particles that go into the lungs and are absorbed by the alveoli. Also, they have systemic effects. For systemic effects, medical gases and general anesthetics by inhalation, and what these are basically used, for this purpose. Medical gases are given via this route, and general anesthetics are usually given by inhalation route. Also, nitric oxide and nitrous oxide are given via this route. Also, for local treatment, this type of route is used, like bronchial indications, partial absorption and general effects. Also, antibiotics and other type of drugs are given via this route. What are the disadvantages? The disadvantages are oral thrush and sore throat. So I hope you like this video, and if you have any questions regarding this topic, or you want me to make a detailed video on any of the topics that I have explained to you guys, then please comment down below in the comment section. I will be happy to answer all your queries and questions. And again, if you want me to make future videos regarding these topics, please like, share and subscribe to Med Learning. Also hit the bell icon so that you will be notified about our future videos. With that said, thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.